1. Madam Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, there was this Netflix documentary that came out about Harvard's admission scandal, and last time I checked, people still love Harvard. They still want to go there. They still have a great debate team. In terms of the rankings, they are still in the top 10. The previous speaker paints you a false sense of urgency that is ultimately fleeting at best in terms of the backlash and in terms of the harms they try to explain. We believe that in a perfect world with unlimited resources, we would not need legacy admissions. But the reality of the situation is far from it, especially among prestigious private universities like that of Ivy Leagues all around the world, particularly in Europe and America. These primarily look like a couple of following characterizations. Number 1, majority of their funding for the endowment fund and other expenses needed primarily coming from alumni donations. That is to say that being a primary donor, of course, has a certain set of privileges and perks that comes as a consequence. We call this a capitalist incentive structure because who is so altruistic to donate millions of dollars without anything in exchange? This looks like if you donate $100,000, yay, claps for you. You get a bench with your name on it. If you donate $1 million, you get a gold and silver plaque inside the auditorium hall near the entrance. If you donate $5 million and up, you get a building named after you and preferential treatment for your family by virtue of your next of kin having a foot in the door. This is the reality we want to defend. The likes of Gates, the likes of Bloomberg, and the likes of other tech moguls and even the UAE investing primarily in Harvard. Number 2, absent particular funding, why is it wrecked? It's particularly wrecked because life is hard, inflation exists, and given the landscape now geopolitically, with Trump season 2, all of those particular things, countries are now becoming more cautious, and there is an increase in burden to do things like bootstrap coming from within, support local, and going domestic. We bite the bullet and tell you, yeah, in principle, it's kind of unfair, but that is the opportunity cost, ladies and gentlemen, of doing things like literally keeping the lights on and being able to make sure that the university actually functions. If you are able to wreck those things and lose out on that particular donor base, you're forced to do things like increase the tuition fee, ladies and gentlemen, and that puts on a stress burden to students who are already up to their necks in terms of student debt amidst an environment of high interest rates. Meaning, is it unfair? Yes, because the trade-off of the economic reality is you fuck up the institution, you wreck its longevity of the endowment fund, and make it significantly harder for them to be able to do things like operate and be able to get new students. Thirdly, what exactly are the exclusive harms of eliminating legacy admissions? And why is the comparative on their side particularly harmful? Because note, they were complaining about legacy admissions, but the push I want to give their side is, how are you going to solve these economic realities, which are also valid and important, of which I gave structural reasons for? A, what happens here is you lose out on the economic support that harms your endowment fund. That is to say that money doesn't grow on fucking trees, right? Let's get out of debate land. Meaning, for every economic opportunity cost, you have a capital outflow on a per dollar basis. For every dollar you lose out on support from, because these particular people get pissed off, you have to be able to make up for that by virtue of it now being an expense. That manifests itself in a couple of harms. Number 1, an increase in cost of tuition that makes it harder for migrant workers and all those DEI individuals you claim to champion to have access and capacity to go to that school. Number 2, a decrease in amount of things like grants and scholarships to be able to actually give people, either through financial scholarships or merit scholarships. These significantly get stifled because you have less money to be able to do that. Number 3, a decrease in quality of education and quality of life within the university that looks like a worsening of teacher-student ratio, lack in quality of life for buildings and facilities. It won't be as competitive, which is something that we flip your metric on legacy, because in the environment in the US and in Europe, if you really care about that school, you gotta be able to position yourself accordingly to be able to stand out. So, all of those things I mentioned flip their metric on diversity if they're so motivated to take care of their people. But that, yeah, go ahead, PY, what is it?
Alumni funding is symmetric because of the fact that people give back because they love their college and everything. But secondly, government subsidizes education and provides these students with scholarships and everything.
Yeah, but like Trump's in power now, he's being kind of a dick. He's kind of wrecking all sorts of things geopolitically, which means that we have to bootstrap even more to raise money. I challenge the lens of that and call bullshit, bro. No offense, no equity meant. It's just that people aren't as altruistic to donate hundreds and millions of dollars. Like, sure, maybe if they're so nice, they'll still give a bit here and there. But of course, if you piss them off and you say that we're not taking care of your kin and family anymore, all the benefits you got, Mr. Bloomberg, Mr. Gates, you're out, they're gonna get pissed off. And all the backlash you say on our side feeds into your side, and you literally are not able to compete, and that harms you. What is the safeguard to legacy admissions? Because I understand that I also don't want dumb entitled people going to my school. Simply put, it gets your foot in the door, but you of course still have to like not fudge it up. You have to do things like pass exams. Don't fail too much. Don't drop too much. You can't be too lazy, because at the point in which you're already given a free slot is the point in which your rich parents are probably going to hit you in the head and tell you, yo, get your shit together, kid. You have to be able to do it or else you're going to get kicked out. We paid so much for you to have a chance here. Absent that, you wouldn't be able to get it. Simply put, the push on our side is that you harm the quality of life for students. For instance, a couple of years back, where that Duke porn star actually had to prostitute herself in order to be able to have a chance to be able to pay for her school. And we think that significantly happens even more at the point in which tuition rates increase, at the point in which these schools have to offset that lack of funding. What I'm gonna burden push their side to do is to deal and answer that economic reality, because people aren't as altruistic as they assert. There are certain things which we have to contend with in order to serve as a financial incentive structure to be able to give back, and we think it's fine. We're willing to take the trade-offs. We are very proud to stand on side opposition.